Welcome, Divine Hearts. Thank you so much for joining us. And this week we have a very special treat for you. We have two guests rather than one, and they are both soul sisters. They are Andara lovers, and they have come from both sides of the world to come together to create a wonderful website called andaralovers.com. They are Sandra Judd and Charmaine Harries. So welcome both ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're honored to be here.
Wonderful. Well, let's begin with the fact that you are both based in different parts of the world. So Sandy, you are still based in Australia, and you, Charmaine, come from Durban in South Africa originally. So let's start with how your soul sister connection began with each other, how this friendship started.
We actually both arrived on the Gold Coast. I had come from Victoria and moved to the Gold Coast. What year was it?
2005.
2005. Charmaine had come from South Africa to emigrate here because she'd always had this soul desire to live in Australia. And we met at a job interview. And it was one of those strange interviews where they want you to chat with the other participants and get to know them and whatever. And we got so busy chatting, we didn't care less about the job. We didn't get it either.
We found that we had so much in common and so many common interests that by the time the interviewer got to us and said, you need to team up with the person next to you and find out as much as possible, we knew everything.
We'd already exchanged phone numbers and we're going to go out for coffee or something.
Oh,
and that was it. And we did crazy things like we did intuitive feng shui classes, anything that was spiritual, metaphysical, whatever we saw that came up, one or other of us would see, and we'd just go and do the training and have fun. And we did some really interesting things. And then what happened then? Oh, you were still in Australia for a long time. We were then involved in one of the courses Charmaine saw advertised was for the liquid crystals, which I think we had a little mention about. And so about 12 years ago, we started training with those. And then that's kind of progressed from there. With both of us always loved crystals. And then we discovered Andaras.
Now, we'll move into the Andaras later a little bit and how you were introduced to them, because it's always quite momentous, that leap that we make from working with crystals and then being introduced to Andaras. But you both have individual gifts and talents too. So how did those individual gifts and talents blossom for you over the years, as well as working together, soul sisters, as a team too, and the things that you are able to offer together?
Will you talk about?
Well, in South Africa, before I came out to Australia, I studied the body alignments and vortex healing, which is healings to do with the planet and your body being a part of the planet as well. Your body is the world. What is inside is what is in is without. And so body alignment, vortex healing, crystal healing, angel intuitives. And then I studied also about essential oils and how to make body products. Those were my passions.
Charmaine likes to work with alchemistic. Yeah, it's like if she had a big black cauldron with steam coming out
that would be me.
That would be.
Yeah,
that would be.
I'm all the witchy thing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you, Sandy?
I had been working in fairly normal things, but for quite a few years I had sold crystals in a country town in Victoria, and I always had the passion for them, and like a natural ability with them. And then when I came to Queensland, I think I came across a psychic at a market in Melbourne, and she said, oh, you need to go and do some work with Doreen Virtue. And just as I moved, within a month or so, she was running a course very close to where I lived. So I did that. And it turned out Charmaine had already done that course. And then I was working, I had no work when I came here. So I started doing readings, psychic readings at a local market. And then sometimes, you know, working with crystals and things. And then I went into a boring office job, selling timeshare, which I was hopeless at. And then, you know, a little bit down the track, worked in other things, but still keeping that spiritual sideline. And we still were doing, you know, feng shui classes and as I said, learning about liquid crystals. And then I started going into learning about NLP and hypnotherapy. I'd been fascinated for about 20 years with neuro-linguistic programming and how the languaging that is used can be used for positive or for negative. And that became something that I was interested in. And at a Tai Chi class, I ran into the lady who was my teacher of NLP and hypnotherapy. And so then I've been working at that for, I don't know how many years, maybe 8 years or something. I've worked at that. You know, the older I've got, the less I've been able to do all the physical work I was doing in the past. And so I've just gone with it. And it more aligned with my beliefs and the way I wanted to work with people. And so that's what I bring into it is, you know, the knowledge of the linguistics. And but now even when I work with hypnosis clients, it's the Andaras that guide what I do. I just stand back and they take over.
Yes, that's wonderful. And so everything that you've experienced up until now is relevant, and it just enriches everything that you do. And then the Andaras coming in again, giving a new layer and level to
they enhance whatever you have. And, you know, for a while even, I would have clients come in and partway through, the Andaras would say, have you finished yet? You know, like move over and listen. And they'd tell me words to say, and I would say the words and the client would be in tears and then it was just really weird. So I now just listen to them. They tell me what to say all along.
So share with us how the Andaras in general came into your awareness to begin with.
In the first place, a liquid crystal practitioner had a photo of some on Facebook. And for whatever reason, when I looked at her photo, I kept hearing these stones talk. And so I contacted her and said, what the heck are these? And where did you get them? And she gave me the lady that she bought them from, said approach her and see what she's got. I ordered a couple from that lady and then continued to look online, and then I saw a beautiful pendant from Andara Lumina Cherry, and I contacted her and bought it. And that one, the minute I paid the money, I kept hearing music and singing. It was like it was singing this song for me, and I didn't know stones would do that. I mean, I always had connection with crystals, but I didn't have any that would play music. And then that was it, actually the first one that ever arrived. And of course, from the minute I heard about them, at that stage, Charmaine had gone back to work and live in Durban. And, but we would still keep in contact. About 4 o'clock of the daytime was when she would be up and about. And, you know, that's when I would sort of be slowing down a bit. So we would chat from then and through the night. And so I started saying to Charmaine, look at this, look at this, look at this. So, yeah, and we had days of just looking at photos and researching online, and I did, you know, send photos to Charmaine, and we just kept getting more and more information from the photos.
And at that stage, you ordered some, and then I ordered some online as well. And I came out to Australia, and I spent a year here. I left the business there and came back here for a year. And Sandra and I were just, we had this thing where if she looks at them, well, this how it all started. If Sandra would pick up the Andaras or play with them or look at them online, she would go to sleep straight away. And I had the opposite effect. If I sat and played with the Andaras or looked at them online, I wouldn't sleep for like 2 or 3 days. So it's like we totally have the opposites. And what Sandra would get from a stone and what I would get would be, I would get the health part of it, what it can do for someone or how it can help someone. And Sandy would get what the Andara, what kind of person that would need it. It would be a school teacher or somebody that was into music or somebody that had emotional problems. So we each have our own parts that we combine together to make like a whole story for the Guardian.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then sometimes I see when you put information about a stone, I think, wow, she gets great stuff. So it's amazing how we all have totally different like a different angle, a different piece of the puzzles.
Yes.
Yes.
This is it.
It kind of aligns with your background, your personal background or knowledge.
Absolutely. This is it. And as you say, it all comes together beautifully. So as I mentioned in the introduction, you source Andaras from all over the world, and you share them with Andara lovers from all over the world. But before we go into the different sort of frequencies and messages of these Andaras from these different places around the planet, I know that for you both, but especially for you, Charmaine, discovering the African Andaras was a journey of discovery, and it was a huge adventure. Can you share with us how that unfolded?
Well, it really started with Sandy having her first African Andara.
We always knew that they were recognized as coming from 3 countries, from the US, from Indonesia, and from Africa. And for some reason, I could not sleep until I had one from each place. I had to feel the difference in the energy. And so I was relentlessly following them, and to the point where at one stage somebody had one and advertised it, and in the middle of the night I was told, get up and buy that. And it didn't look like anything I recognized, and it didn't matter, I just got it anyway. And did the same with an Indonesian one, so that we noticed then the difference between the countries, the complete feel of them. I don't know if you experience that, but we certainly do.
Yeah, they each have their own uniqueness and their own frequency and energetic frequency that each country has, that is just so special to that country. And when Sandy found her African one, I had already gone back to South Africa to go back to business, and we were in
our stupid warped logic, we thought, how funny. You're back in South Africa and you travel around a bit, and Gavin, Charmaine's now husband, was traveling from all parts, and they were involved in importing and exporting. They knew all about importing and exporting, and they're Andaras. And she liked Andaras, so we figured we must be the ones that have to get them.
And our sole path is to seed the Andaras throughout the world, but especially the African Andaras, because the African Andaras are this new energetic part of the new awakening and the new earth, the new frequencies of where people are going to, not where they've come from. It's the new awakening stones where they really need to, you really need to have your wisdom and your love well balanced. Well balanced and put together before you can even work with their energy, because they're so powerful, but powerful in the positive sense. Powerful is really, really good when you use that with the wisdom and the love. But if you use it in the negative and you see where it comes from in the country of Africa, and you can see the corruption, the
misuse of power,
the dictatorship, the bad use of power, the wrong side of the scale. So I mean, like, everything has a balance. Everything is good and bad. But, you know, we are now needing this to use it in the positive. We're now needing to use the power within ourselves to stand up in our own spiritual power and sovereignty. So yes, Sandy went and we went exploring through Africa, and my hubby, he was traveling all over and he made so many contacts, and we
had to ask everybody about these pieces of, you know, he still thinks we're crazy, but we, you know, have him helping with lots of things, but he still thinks we're stupid.
We went on this huge adventure, and we went into some of these places in Africa, and we just met the most amazing people, and it was just an amazing journey. So our first consignment, we got our first consignment. Well, first of all, it took ages. It actually
was about a year
to get our first consignment, and we kept on wondering why it was taking so long. But we had realized afterwards that we had to first finish working with the wisdom and the love, and integrate that into our.
That's right, because in the meantime, we discovered a lot more of the Indonesian ones, and we went off on a tangent, and in the end thought, we don't care about the African ones. These ones are so pretty, they make you feel good, they sparkle, and you know, and they make you happy. And we we left it, and then one day out of the blue, we got a message saying, here's a flight number, go meet it, you've got a
consignment's on its way.
And it was about maybe a year. We thought our contacts had died or run off with our money or whatever. We didn't quite know what. And it arrived on the last plane coming from Africa before all the COVID lockdowns, which was insane, you know, and that it had been a year chasing. By then we'd played so much with the Indonesian ones. We were all just like, you know, oh, isn't this pretty? And the other ones came, and I think Charmaine and Gav went to the airport to sort out all the customs paperwork, because it was, you know, very complex. And I was going to a deep water running class, and I could feel these things in my lungs, like right down to my waist. As I was breathing, it was just, I felt the clarity in the lungs. It was phenomenal. And I think when I got home from my deep water running class, I probably slept for a few days. And Charmaine couldn't sleep because they'd arrived. But they were very, very strong.
I remember.
And we realised then that we had to have worked with the Indonesian ones just to cope with the energy of them.
Exactly. And I remember when they arrived, because you sent little pictures of the process that they had to go through, because they had to sun charge for a long time. There was a lot of TLC involved, and this unshedding process for them too. So I found that to be really fascinating as well, because it was like a real sort of a purification process, and it was mirroring the African energies as well. The as you mentioned, the wisdom of all that experience, that richness of experience of the misuse and power and what that means and how that's been played out in different ways. And then this coming to this 0 point in a way, and that they needed this time to connect more deeply. I also love the fact that with you both, with this really beautiful friendship that you have and this deep soul connection that you have, you're also, there's so many code exchanges going on with you two, this connection with Australia and South Africa, and also these Andaras and those coming in, playing in the same frequencies. And it's been, I understand that we are multidimensional beings, but to see it in that way too, so physically represented by you both is really fascinating to watch that process too.
That's right, because even by the time they arrived back in Australia, Charmaine and Gavin had to move back here. Things were just going, power was getting out of control in Africa, and it just seemed like this little pocket of opportunity to sell up and come back here opened up, and they sort of grabbed it and sold everything up and moved back to Australia, and we're here for, I don't know, 6 months before that shipment of Andaras came in. At the time, we were going to just keep working from either country. But the Andaras, changed all that. They kind of said, no, now she's got to get out. And it would be too hard to be in Africa at the moment, the way things have erupted over there. Yeah. It wouldn't be safe at the minute.
You have since been working a lot with the African pieces, and they have inspired you in lots of creative ways as well to work with them. I love a piece that you have on your site, which is on the blog section, and you're speaking about the Aquanaut Collective, so the messages that came through with these beautiful pieces. So would you be able to expand a little bit more about that and how they inspired you to be more creative with creating oils with them and all sorts of things?
The Aquanauts, I think when the Andaras came in, I kind of threw my hand in a container and just pulled one out and thought, oh, this is nice, and put another hand in and pulled one out, and I pulled these two that really sit nicely in your hands. And then I started discovering the difference in the information they had, if you had them in the left hand or the right hand. These are both, you probably can't see it, they're both, this is still slightly sea foam, but this is quite strongly sea foam.
One's very sea foamy.
So lots and lots of knowledge there, and this is clearer. And they were telling me that this was to teach us how to, clear and work with, deep-seated emotional issues. These two I use a lot when I have even hypnotherapy clients. These work a lot. And that inspired us one day. So I said, I get so much from these, and you can work as well with a tiny piece as a big piece, and it's a lot cheaper to buy. And that's when we thought, well, we have clear ones and we've got a few bits of sea foam. And we thought, you kind of need the knowledge that comes more with the sea foam, but having the balance of them, it just helps people work through emotional clearings. And to me, these two, were,
great as energy workers, for energy workers that work with energy and do healing work and grid work and all that. They are really, they give you all the information and balance you at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
and yet they're still gentle. They're not the original one I had was very, very deep forest green. Mm-hmm. And that's quite a lot harsher energy to deal with, like this one. It's like that deep energy.
Yes.
That's quite strong. That actually usually lives outside in to anchor the garden a little bit. So a lot of people wouldn't cope with the very heavy ones. And we started discovering with working with them that it was like if you stand at the ocean, and the bit where it's a sea foam is where it's just touching the shore,
The bubbly way.
and it's that bubbly bit at the end, and then you just get a little bit into the water and it's there. So it's like you're putting your foot in, your toes in to clearing your emotions. And then as you go through the deeper colors, you get to the point where you're working through your feelings, releasing very, very gently at first, and then you get more and more brave. You get to the bit where there's a bicolor, so it's got maybe some brown in it, and that's where the sand is kind of crashing and mixing with the surf. We have surf near. And
even maybe even have a bit of seaweed in it.
Yeah, and that's right. And then you get a little bit, deeper color than this, and then you get out to the really, really deep color, and that's when you get the courage to really explore, deep-seated emotions. And then when you do that, it's like you come to shore and you start again. So you work through something and you'll do it again. So that's how we put together the set of the like the shaman packs of 5. Medicine packs, because they're working through the different layers. They won't be for everyone. Whereas these are, this is more common. It would be easier for people working with these as a start. And then if they wanted to explore more, or if they work in a healing field, then you go on. And then shaman is, well, I guess that led us a little bit into the Egyptian ones, because this is what led us into working more with oils.
Okay.
Is finding one of these, and for some reason with this it came from, I think what I heard was when there was renovations at Isis's tomb, there were stones uncovered, and so they've all come from that area. And when we came across this, the knowledge that the information it seemed to impart was that knowledge of the deep-seated perfumery that is in Egypt. That's kind of like the home of perfumes.
But they also hold the secret of the land that has been kept secret. There's so many secrets in the land of Egypt that is never been made known, and the Egyptian Andaras have that, where you can hold it and channel. And I mean, one of the pieces that I had actually had like hieroglyphics in it. It was just such an amazing piece. But yes, I mean, it gives you the energy of working with oils, and that's what had us know that that with certain things we had to have the matching oil for people to put on as a third eye. I mean, these, if I send them out, I buy blue lotus oil, which is an imported Egyptian oil. Any of these only ever will leave when they're anointed with the oil. They don't like going without. But they were what inspired us to know that we had to work with other things to enhance people's meditation experience or working experience with them. And obviously with the African ones, Charmaine had, boxes of oils and that she collected over the years that we can't even find in other parts of the world. Yeah, African oils are different to oils obviously from Australia. So a lot of our African anointing oils and oils that shaman oils and things like that are used with, original African, oils from trees and things from Africa, which is unique to our stuff, and everything is sort of like, nothing is put into any product unless it is perfectly balanced and doused to make sure that is the highest of intention goes into it. Everything is made by hand and made with love and care and integrity. So, I mean, that's what we want. We want people to have something that feels and makes them, it's going to give them a new path, or put them on their path and extend their path, where it opens up the fields where they're working in and what they need to be doing.
That's wonderful. Speak a little bit about the different energies that you feel with the Indonesian pieces, the African pieces, and also the pieces from America too. The subtle differences.
One of the things that we'd learned a lot, trained a lot in with working with liquid crystals, is that there is a breakdown of, you know, love, power, and wisdom, and it's a very important balance. And when we first came across the American ones, they are they're a different energy. They're chattier. They're especially like the coloured ones. They're like very chatty teenagers. They're, you know, sometimes they go off like this, and you need to have some shaman brown or some sea foams around just to ground their energy, because otherwise it's all chatter, but none of it makes sense. So you need to be able to, you know, have the elders around for them. So those ones are very much wisdom. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom within the US ones. The Indonesian ones, we felt them more like,
it was more the feeling.
For a long time, I couldn't even get words that associated with them, because they just hit you wherever they hit you, and you look at them. I mean, remember you and I both, Lois, both got some of those Lemurian aquas at the same time. I just opened the box and cried. I couldn't do anything but look at them and just they just hit me. Yeah.
I'm just saying, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh,
it was it. And then when the African ones came, there's like a quiet earthiness about them, and even though they're powerful, it's a quiet power. And that's why we felt like it was a grandmother energy, because it cuffs you under the ear if you do the wrong thing, but it loves you and wants you to succeed. And it's not, it's pushing you to be your best you and loving you anyway. And the more we realized, like if we go off and work with African ones for a while, then we need to put them down and just take Indonesian ones to the beach and play.
Because there has to be a balance.
Yes.
You know, without the balance, your whole, I mean, like the whole life needs to be balanced. So, I mean, if you don't have the wisdom and the love and the power all as one unified piece, it's like you just feel that you're a little bit scattered. And so by having all three of them, which is the wisdom, love, and power, gives you that
it's a unification,
yeah,
a more feeling of oneness.
Oneness, yes, that's the right word, the oneness. It's then working in oneness.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what I find with these pieces, all of them, they're so pushing us to continually create in new ways, pushing my limits of how to do things. No, it has to be like this or this. No. So it's completely breaking all the barriers. Any ideas I have about anything is being completely just dismantled in a really loving way, which is really beautiful. And I love, you have another lovely piece on your website too, where you speak about the work that you've been doing, the grid working that you've been doing, using the rainbow pieces and the connection with the songlines, which I found really powerful and magical. Can you share a little bit more about that work?
Yeah, we had a while ago, we bought some of the earlier rainbow pieces like this, and we had some pendants done. And there were quite a number that came in that were more like browny, earthy colours, and they had purple through them. And, you know, we sold an odd one here or there. They didn't seem to do anything much. And yet I knew that there was an importance to them that it just hadn't, the time wasn't right, but I knew we had to have them on standby. And then very recently, I saw an interview that somebody I follow on Facebook, an Indigenous grandmother named Grandmother Malara. She had been talking with Charlie Ward, and she sort of went through the information. I knew that the Indigenous elders since, was it 2020, there was quite a bit that went on in Uluru. And that's like their secret women's business and their secret business. And a lot of it was dismantling old, well, songlines or dreamlines, they called them, to create the new earth. So there were a series of grandmothers that were removing and have now finished removing the old boundaries that were there, and they've created the new dreamlines or songlines. And what they've done is they've used amethyst, as that's the stone that's to do with that. And it was coincidental that all those other Andaras we had that were like browns, and then they'd have, you know, really amethysty purple color through it. And we'd heard something somewhere else where throughout like the population of Australia, there was quite a bit of anger, and we thought, well, you know, maybe these Andaras, we need to help release their energy to, you know, help people to let go of the anger that was being held. And so that's what Charmaine in the interim has bought scalar and rife machines and all that kind of thing. So we use what
The Tesla
is at hand, the technology, the Tesla technology with that. And we got some of these. We thought we'll just try a few, and we tested them with putting, you know, different frequencies, and Charmaine doused to see what frequencies needed to be in there, and, you know, to release the anger and to help people to get into the creating of a new way of living. So it was all very much, so it's over to you from there.
Yeah, because the stones, Uluru, which is Ayers Rock in Australia, has very much this color. And so connecting these stones on those lines, the song lines, according to the Aboriginal people, we did a grid, and we went to the water and we did the grid so that the grid would then go into the waterways, and the waterways would take the energy and frequency through all the waterways through Australia and under the ground and filter it through. So we did the grid as the shape of the
rainbow serpent. Yeah, the rainbow serpent is what they use for, like, representative of the dream time. And we did a post which is on our website, and we've put links to, you know, further places that people can go. You can go and listen to Grandmother Malara's talk with Charlie Ward. You can look up information on the dream lines and the song lines. And you know, we've sort of put all that there so that if people are interested, they can just follow the story. And it was fascinating. It was quite fascinating to know that, you know, for Indigenous, they can walk through the outback, and as they cross a song line, they get the information of, you know, what's in the area, where the water is, all that kind of stuff. So song lines are different to a grid line around the earth, and they radiate differently. And in the talk, Grandmother Malara just said if people were to go outside and anchor themselves with love into the earth and hold an amethyst, and just feel whatever tone or music comes up, if a tone resonates with you, just sing it or hum it or whatever, and allow the energy to go back into the earth and feed into the song lines. And if more and more people did that, wherever you are in the earth, it all goes to where it's needed. And this will help bring in their new dreaming, which is of a much better world, where people are united and work together and that kind of stuff.
So as far as the oils went, so we took the song line, which after we had done the grid, we took those Andaras, and then we took amethyst and activated the oil with all the grid, the Andaras from the grid and amethyst stone, and activated it and put that frequency into an oil. So if somebody doesn't have a Songline Andara and they don't have an amethyst, they can still use the oil and put the oil on their third eye or put it on the meridian points or chakra points, and they can still work with that, connecting themselves to the songlines, even if they don't have a stone. And it's, the oil is very, very powerful. It's extremely powerful. We've lots of people have come back to us and, have said how extremely powerful the oil is.
I put them on and fall asleep, so I don't often do it outside of bedtime.
And I found with the rainbows that because you mentioned dream time there, and the dreams are so vivid. Once these pieces came, the dream time was just like entering into another dimension in my dream time, and seeing all these vivid colours and just really visual, but really real dreams as well, and also accessing our creative powers and our powers of creation. So when you're speaking about the songlines, it just feels so beautiful, and for us to connect with our own abilities and powers of creating our own realities, the realities that are highest aligned. And as you've mentioned, holding the amethyst by the heart feels so just beautiful, because it's the heart realities.
Just whatever, if there's if you get the urge to just hum, whatever it is you hum or whatever it is you sing. We actually have somebody, a lovely lady who's bought a few pieces of that, and she and her son, who's about 8, are currently in Uluru, and they have taken these and really taken it on board, and they've gone everywhere, and they've designed a rainbow serpent, and they've gone to some really amazing sacred grounds. And the little boy, as he's been making the serpent, he might have been, I think she said to me the other day, he was singing the songs of a tree. And so he's actually going there. They're in Uluru at the moment. So it will be another post that I put up that Pip doesn't mind that we share her photos. And they're just sitting in this really earthy red dust and like a serpent of coloured stones. And it's just amazing to see that, and for her to connect that back to us so that other people can experience. She's been taking it to like sacred birthing sites and all sorts of amazing places. So she's got some quite interesting stories.
Wow.
That she's sharing with us at the minute. We're sort of following along her travels.
I know you've mentioned a little bit about the varying energies in Africa and the energies in Australia. Speak a little bit more about what you're feeling currently in the energies, and maybe how the Andaras are assisting you with currently what's occurring and what you feel about the near future.
Yeah, there's so many things going on at the moment, and the overwhelming thing I'm getting is more for people to be able to stand in their own light, and even for countries to start becoming a bit more sovereign. There's a lot of interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably don't need to talk about a lot of the things that are going on in the world. But I think the most important thing for all of us is to stand in our own power and not just blindly listen and go along with what's happening. If it doesn't feel right, look at it. And, rather than stomping your feet around and objecting, we have to just we have to know in our heart what we will, where we will compromise. Where do you want to be selling your soul, you know, for the sake of going? We're having a lot of still segregation things in Australia. I don't know that you have that over there, but there's quite a bit, you know, people that have been going along with the COVID injections, and some that haven't. So in certain areas, there's segregation. We had a long time where we couldn't drive 15 minutes and cross the border to New South Wales, which is kind of crazy. It's 15 minutes. This side of the border, you know, there are restrictions for people. So for us at the moment, it's more about being sovereign beings, and, you know, just claiming your birthright as a sovereign being.
And I think that's where the African Andaras come in, because if you've worked with the American and you work with the Indonesian, and now you get your African Andara and you start working with your African energy, your African Andara energy, the grandmother energy, what it does is it aligns you in your power. So it gives you that I am powerful enough to stand in my own light and make my own decisions. And when you stand in your own light and you become one with yourself, that energy goes out to all the people around you and even beyond, because you are grounded in that light, and your grounding filters through the lines below the ground as well. So you're actually doing energy work above, below, throughout as well. So if you can ground yourself and you can be
and treat yourself as though you're the universe.
Yes, that, I mean, if every person did that, we could awaken the world in an instance. It just, you know, they're so powerful. Andaras are so powerful. They are such amazing, you know, they talk to you, they tell you what to do, they become bossy, they tell you when to do things and how to do things and what not to listen to. And, you know, it just, people just realized how amazing they made you laugh. I can't imagine life. We couldn't imagine life without Andaras.
I'm the same. Oh, ladies, it's been such a joy to connect with you both. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
No, I guess, you know, as with everything, it's watch this space. We very much get guided by the Andaras. You know, if we go in a certain direction, it's because they've directed us to. You know, we're gathering information on the nuances of the different African stones, and one day we'll probably you know, put that information out there. At the moment, we're still collating and collecting and getting information. And with each variety, we're starting to be able to sense the difference. At the moment, we have majority is in the similar colorings, but there's different personalities within those, which is taking us a while to have noticed. And with each thing, you know, as I said, we go along, and the African ones will call out and say, it's time people knew how to use the aquanauts. And they very much guided it. And a few months later, it's like, now people that are doing healing need to know how to use the little medicine pack, because you can put them on aspects of your body. You can use them in
chakras. You can, there's so many things.
So we walk past them, and one day, you know, something will yell out and say, it's time people knew that, you know, they had this oil, or, you know, they very much dictate. So we keep going with it, using whatever technology we have, and we're utilising the scale of things, because we recognise that even the Andaras that come from Indonesia, it's like they need to go, for example, they need to go to you for activation, and the ones that would come from you have a different feel to the ones that come to us that need to be in Australia. So it's almost like they need to go to countries or to areas to wake up differently or to get that kind of information. You know, they need to pick up information. So we very much just go along with where we're guided.
Yeah, and I mean, like when we channel on a stone, and that Andara will say, this is what you need to do. This is who I need, this guardian you need to put out there. This is the person I'm looking for. And so, I mean, like lots of times we will channel and then it'll tell us what guardian it needs, that, you know, needs to find. And they're just so amazing that we'll, like, for example, do a channeling, and a channeling will say, oh, is this for a school teacher, and she has blah, 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 emotional problems, and she has a kidney problem, and blah, blah, blah. And we'll put that out there, and next minute, the person that buys them will send us a message saying, I need this, I have problems with my kidneys, and you know, I work with kids, and we're just so blown away. It's totally amazing.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being so generous with your time and with your wisdom as well with us. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you so much for having us. We are so honoured. Thank you.